How was your poop?
It hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Hi, welcome to Tampon Talk with Mary. Welcome to the show that only airs once a month. I don't have a quick story because my quick story I recorded an entire episode about a hospital experience.
What's the TLDR?
The what?
The short version. Sum it up in a sentence.
Hospitals hate women.
Cool, tune into that one.
Well, first let me introduce my guest. Last time on the show I called you a regular guest in my life and you got a little offended, but you're not that. You're more than that. I brought my boyfriend back on the show, Preston. Hi, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing.
Hi. What have you done since being on Tampon Talk last that we should know about?
Nothing interesting, I guess. I don't know.
You pooped before each episode of Tampon Talk.
I usually poop every morning.
Wow. You've got good bowels.
I have a routine.
Oh.
So.
I don't even remember the last time I pooped. I think it was Monday. Anyway.
That's bad.
Not remembering the last time I pooped?
You should poop more.
Are you supposed to, poop every day?
At least every other day, probably. Maybe not every day. I poop every day. I have a routine. I only poop once a day. In the morning, after coffee.
Oh. Which is so weird, because I drink coffee too, but I don't burst my asshole every day. Oh, anyway. So, for those of you regular listeners, you know that we have this segment on the show called Tampon Terror. I'm sure Preston does not have a Tampon Terror story, unless you do. You want to share it? Alright, well, one was actually sent in to us that I'd love to read. From R, so I'm gonna just read it and we'll chit-chat about it. So R said, for her Tampon Talk story, it was the first and so far only time I've worn a tampon. I was going on a trip with 15 to 20 friends and we were going to a water park. I had never used one, let alone in a water park, frowny face. I ended up putting it in wrong, I guess, and it was insanely uncomfortable. I got on a dark slide with a few friends and realized it was slipping out. After we got off, I ran to the bathroom. Thankfully it stayed, so I decided to take it out, only to find out apparently I had stopped bleeding when I was in the water. It's not a very terrible story, but I have not yet tried to use one again for fear it will fall out. R. Wow, wouldn't that really ruin your, Six Flags experience? Only is there, a 1,000-year-old man just, running around behind you,
Could you use that excuse to get to the front of lines, though?
Is the tampon?
I'm bleeding out of my vagina.
I feel like they
wouldn't...
Let
me in through the handicap exit.
I feel like they wouldn't let you out at all, if that were the case. Well, R, I feel you. I don't think I've ever been to a water park on my period, at least if I remember. I've gone swimming. My younger sister on an earlier episode was talking about she tried wearing a... Oh, wait. No, I wore a tampon and she wore a pad in the pool. And the pad was she's not supposed to do that. But I wore a tampon while I did swim team and I'd turn corners after swimming a 50 or a 75 or something. And I just shot back. It just shot out when I turned. I was like, ew! What would you do, Preston, if you were in that situation? If you were in Six Flags, you had a tampon barely holding into your asshole?
I would show everyone my blood and ask to get in through the exit of the rides.
I really don't think they would let you on if you were, It
worked for Danny DeVito when he had AIDS.
I was just thinking about that. That might be something to try next time, R, is just let them know that either you have AIDS or that you're dating DeVito, and you'll get on just fine. Well, you know. Oh, and I encourage. Sorry, I'm eating a Lean Pocket. Not sponsored by Lean Pockets, but shout out to R for sharing. And if you have a tampon terror story, I would love to read it on the air. Send it to my email, tampontalkwithmary@gmail.com. Now we're getting into the nit and the grit of this show. Preston has not told me what we're doing. We've been talking about recording this for a while, but he won't he won't tell me what we're doing. So I'm just gonna put the show in his hands, and we're just gonna roll with it. So what are we doing? What are we doing, Preston?
So basically, I found this Reddit thread with some great stories, and I'm gonna read these with some character.
Oh, good.
And I'm just gonna let you react to it.
Okay.
So this Reddit thread was marked not safe for work, obviously, but it's from Ask Reddit, and it's called Men of Reddit. What are your abnormal vagina stories? So I'm gonna read you a number of the top comments.
Okay.
Not the vagina, but the clitoris. I met this girl at a party in college, and I ended up back at her dorm. One thing led to another, and I head downtown on her. I get down there, and I find a clit that looked like a thumb. Let's call it a clunt. It would have been fine if I could have chosen to continue or not, but as soon as my lips touched her downstairs hips, she wrapped her legs around my head like a boa, and I had to eat my way to freedom. Not the worst experience. Alright, next one.
Oh, okay.
On our second date, I went down on her. All was well. When I was done, I noticed some nasty boils all around, though. Great. Am I going down on someone with herpes? Nope. Turns out she actually had a nasty seafood allergy. We're actually married now and have a good laugh about this.
What? What kind of seafood allergy reaction cause bumps on your vagina?
That's why you don't go bass to mouth.
But,
This was a one-night stand. Her vagina looked normal from the outside, but her pelvic bone had some weird kind of odd rounding, so when I stuck my dick in doggy style, no issue. But when she rode me reverse cowgirl, it hooked up onto my dick and straight up hurt.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so she boned him.
Feminism.
This girl I was seeing had a really low cervix / short vagina, if that's a thing. Sex was fine, but 20% of the time I was hitting the wall.
So, like, my question would be, does that guy have, like, a average sized penis? Or, like, if he had a smaller penis, would it just feel like normal sex?
I was with a girl in college whose business tasted alarmingly like Cheez-Its. It wasn't actually all that bad.
That's it? That's all it is?
Yep. I knew a girl whose vagina was slanted 15 degrees to the left. My buddy ended up dating her in the end.
Oh.
Yeah, now that's an acute vagina.
Boo! Boo!
I met this girl at a bar and went back to her place. It was after she worked a double at a restaurant. This is important to the story. Things got hot and heavy and clothes started coming off. It was a normal hookup, and then off came the underwear. All of a sudden, the room was filled with the thickest, muskiest stench. It was so pungent that it was like you could cut it with a knife. I remember back to when this girl said she had just gotten off a double. I worked in the industry, so I get sweating. Powered through her stench and went home after.
Jeez. Yeah, honey, you gotta let that thing air out.
She was a cool girl who I wanted to see again, so in the next few days we made a proper hookup date, and I went over to her place, but this time she hadn't worked, so I thought we were all good. Things got hot and heavy, and everything was up to normal until the underwear came off. Same thing happened. Room filled with the muskiest stench. It was kind of choking, it was so bad. And I'm a pretty comfortable guy to be around, and I'll say anything. So I said to her, hey, I don't mean to be rude, but I really think you have something going on, and you should get that checked out. She admitted that she smelled it too and told me she would get a doctor's appointment the next day. Powered through again and then left. The next day she goes to the doctor and I get a call from her. It turns out like a month ago she was drunk and put a tampon in, not realizing she already had one in. So she was starting to suffer from TSS. She told me that had I not said anything, she probably would have ignored it some more. And that was the day I found out I saved a girl's life by telling her vagina stunk.
But bitch, how'd you not know? That was like... Wait, and they...
I guess it got shoved way up there.
Wait, but if they had sex, like, wouldn't he, like, hit it?
No, I think he was eating her out. I don't think they were having sex. Probably more psychological than anything to do with her actual vagina, but she wouldn't let me go down on her because she said it tickled too much. She was a virgin and wanted to keep it that way for religious reasons, so we were experimenting with oral, which she also never tried. But every time I tried to touch her lick, she burst into laughter and pulled away from her face. Her stomach, breasts, neck, legs were all fine. Her vagina was just ticklish.
Don't tickle me.
I dated a girl back in high school who didn't know where her vagina was.
Alright, well that's just the fault of the sex ed education.
Did you ask her where she last had it?
Dang it, I misplaced my vagina.
Is it under the couch? Is it under the cushion? I had no idea how she did it, but a few years ago, she could, eject what I left in there.
Whoa!
Someone explained this madness. It was probably the most insanely funny moment I've ever witnessed in my life. She could also fist comfortably if relaxed, but then she could flex enough to claim to feel my heartbeat through my penis.
What? I mean, I've shot tampons out of me before, but...
PSA, this does not count as birth control. Does not work that way.
I don't think your vagina just gets to reject it. How dare you come in me, I come in you.
I met this girl off of Tinder, and we go out for dinner and then back to my place. One thing led to another, and she's on my bed, and I go down on her. As I'm fingering her, I feel something odd in there. Not wanting to be rude, I assumed it was a diaphragm, a female condom, or some other kind of lady product I don't know about. A few minutes go by, and I feel something wet. And not a good wet, so I accidentally pull it out. It was a used fucking condom. And
what?
I ended right there. I never had a more intense mood swing in my life.
Jesus Christ.
The real question is whether or not that was her second dinner of the night.
How did she not, no? Do a condom courtesy and just pull that thing out.
When I was in the army, I dated this girl whose vagina sucked. I don't mean it was terrible. I mean it literally sucked. I was going down on her and she was coming from it, and her vagina inhaled and tugged at my bottom lip enough that I felt it. It startled me and I pulled back a bit. She didn't notice, but I sure did, and I'll never forget that.
Wow. It's like, you ever see the movie Teeth?
Yeah.
Reminds me of that. Ready. There's a lot of, in all these stories so far, it just feels like there's a lot of just, either vaginal neglect or vaginal strength. It confuses me.
A year or so ago, I met this girl off Tinder, and we hit it off straight away. Went from exchanging pleasantries to smut chat in less than 5 minutes. She lived nearby and wanted a friends with benefits, so I obliged. I drove over to her house, and she was, a little bigger than her photos indicated, but I didn't mind. She was cute and horny. Anyways, we get down to business, and I started fingering her. She was super aroused. I inserted one finger, then two, then three, and she was happy. She then grabbed the back of my neck and stared at me in the eye and in an aggressive tone said, "I want your whole hand inside of me." Okay. 4 fingers, and then the thumb, and suddenly her snatch gobbled my hand up like it was feeding a horse to an apple. I never fisted anyone before, so I thought it was pretty neat, punching her cervix like that. So did she.
Jesus!
We saw each other a couple of times, and shit always got weird.
I mean, yeah. I really appreciate you, fisting my listeners with your voice just now.
It was like fucking a bucket of water. I dated a girl that had 2 of them, side by side.
What? Had 2 of what?
Vaginas.
Oh.
She filled me in before our first time, explained that she only used one of them, and she'd happily guide me in for a landing, so to speak. I honestly thought she was just bullshitting me until I had the time to grab her. Until the first time I had to grab her a tampon, and she reminded me that she needed 2, so she used both of them. You'd never have known there was anything different about her. She was absolutely gorgeous and looked perfectly normal.
2 vaginas? How does that even happen? How do you...
Once I was going down on a girl and I licked out toilet paper.
These ladies need some more awareness of your vagina. Just clean it out. It's freaking cobwebs in there. So a baby. understand all the vaginal neglect. Like, vaginas are more complicated. Like we need to... You take more responsibility. I feel like... I mean, you can debate me if I'm wrong. I feel like penises are just a little bit easier. I feel like vaginas are confusing and complex. Wow. This is really... I mean, you're reading silence.
One girl I was with was an insane squirter. Just off the charts. I touched her clit for no lie, less than 5 seconds, and she just pushes me away and loudly says, "Get some towels!" I was wearing a Fitbit at the time and took it off because it's not splash proof.
That doesn't... Okay, that doesn't feel real. That doesn't feel like a real story. Sounds like somebody made it up. I want to meet that woman and just be like, what's going on? What is this story called again?
Abnormal vagina stories.
But you said something about work.
What?
I thought you said something about, like...
It's not safe for work. That means you don't want to be looking at this thread while you're at work.
Oh. I'm learning Reddit. Oh, man.
I dated this girl for a while, and and the time to make the sex rolled around. I love to go down...
The time to make the sex?
Yes.
Continue.
I'd love to go down on a woman, so that was the first thing I did to her. One of her lips down there was long. I mean, like 3 to 4 inches long. The other one was normal size, but when I got the long one in my mouth, I honestly thought something had fallen between the bed and gotten between her legs. I stopped and did a little investigating. When she looked up, she was crying. I'd asked her what was wrong, and she said she had been stressing out so bad about me seeing her long lip and had freaked out for me of making fun of her. I immediately assured her that all was well and that if she was into it, I would like to continue where I left off. This cheered her up, and she indicated agreement, so we went back to work on her, and we had a wonderful night. I miss her. She tasted like white chocolate-covered mango. Definitely the most amazing tasting girl I've ever been with.
What? White chocolate mango? I know you can get, if you eat certain foods, you can get your vagine to taste like bacon or pomegranate. Or carrots. I think that works with men too, actually. How do you just need to eat a lot of mangoes? We should test this out. Like, I'll try a bunch of different diets, and then, I'll get back to you guys about if there's any taste differences.
All right, last one.
Okay.
I don't know if this is good. I haven't read this one. Was seeing this girl for a bit. Great gal, ambitious, motivated, fit, and had hobbies and could tell me stories about. Stars were aligning. So we're at date 4 now without hooking up. There's backstory and the timing all makes sense, but I've had some pent-up attraction that needs to be released. We head back to hers, get a bottle of wine and some banter, and clothes are flying off. Up the stairs we head and down to business we get. Foreplay, music, good lighting, things are flowing naturally and uninhibited. I finally chuck it in and almost immediately have to pull out and reset. 6 strokes and there's about to be another Falcon-heavy lunge. You might be thinking, of course, all that build-up, who could resist? But I swear to God, her vagina was the softest, coziest, warmest vagina I've ever had sex with. Honestly, this was primarily a temperature thing. She had a warm vagina, like freshly baked bread warm, like towels out of the dryer warm. It was like an easy bake oven for my penis, and I couldn't last long enough to read the instructions. Anyway, up until that point, I had prided myself on my stamina. It was hard for girls to make me finish, and I didn't mind that. It took 20 seconds for that part of my ego to die painfully.
Jeez.
4 weeks of embarrassing performances followed before I finally threw in the towel. Her hot tub vagina beat me.
I mean, I feel like all vaginas are warm, though, yeah?
I mean, he says this is extra warm.
I mean, there's not a cold vagina, right? Have you come across any cold vaginas?
One last one, actually.
Oh, okay.
When I was in high school, I dated Cindy, who was pretty hypersexual. It ended up being a large part of why I broke up with her. We'd be on the phone chatting about school and our friends, and she'd bust out, "Guess how many fingers I have in my pussy?"
Oh.
The answer was always 4. So later in our 20s, we reconnected. She was at my house hanging out, and my roommate came home from some convention or other. He had gotten a red rubber bouncy ball, about baseball size, that lit up and flashed when he bounced it. I looked at Cindy and started to say, you know, I bet you could, and she had already started unzipping her jeans and said, only if you put it in. So, Rumi's standing there. She dropped her pants and parted her legs. I smacked the ball to get it flashing, and then slid it in with zero effort. Her lips closed up around the ball, and it bulged a little. It lit up from the inside and looked like an ambulance had just pulled up to tend some kind of vulva emergency. When it stopped flashing, she just kind of pooped it out. I was grinning, and my buddy just stood there slack-jawed. Finally, he muttered, "You have a really nice pussy, thank you for that," and walked away.
What? Y'all motherfuckers are weird. How do I... So, like, they threw a ball on the ground on it? How did that... What happened?
No, they just had a light up ball, and they're like, oh, let's stick this in your vagina.
I don't know. Makes me question how big the ball was. How do you have that much vaginal... Yeah, it's either vaginal strength or vaginal neglect. All of these stories. Has anything... Do you have one that's, like, worthy of sharing?
No.
Oh. Wow. So that's a whole thread of just magical vaginas. Vaginas are cool. I enjoy them.
It's good to know.
Yeah, that I enjoy vaginas.
Sure.
I mean, we are dating. I don't know if that makes things a little more complicated.
Do what you want.
If I enjoy vaginas. Okay, so what's our takeaway? What's the lesson to be... What should we get out of...
Every woman is unique and interesting.
Oh, that's actually kind of sweet.
And some are smelly as shit.
Yeah, girl, take care of your vagina. Take out your tampon. How do people... I've never forgotten that a tampon has been in there. Like, I am too aware. How do you just forget that there's a tampon? I don't know. Alright, so just, vaginas are what Preston said. And that was kind of sweet. But also, take out your damn tampons. God. Maybe, give it a little more airtime. It shouldn't smell like a harbor all the time. It's just, that's bad, honey. Go check that pH. Alright, well, it's a good... Any final thoughts besides our takeaway? Did you have a good time?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. Consent's really important, so I just want to make sure that you consent to have a good time with
Did you have a good... You're asking for consent after the fact.
Oh, shit. Damn it.
Raper.
I'm not! Well, I mean, you didn't tell me what we were doing, and then you just did it. So I think you are the rapist in this situation.
Throwing fingers around. Alright. Let's see how it is.
Why do you always victimize yourself every time you're on my show? Alright, and he's quiet. Do you have any media you'd like to plug?
No.
How come you never want to plug on my show?
Because I don't do anything.
Yeah, you do.
I don't care.
Why not? Maybe other people care about your stuff.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, I'll just plug the tampon stuff, I guess. If you have a tampon terror story, or if you were on that Reddit thread, and you've got some explaining to do, email me, tampontalkwithmary@gmail.com. Follow the social media, Tampon Talk W Mary on Twitter and Instagram. The page is still kind of shit, I mean, I'm busy, you know what I'm saying, trying to get on this grind, but there's a Facebook page. You can look me up, Tampon Talk with Mary, and you can like it if you still have a Facebook, because after this whole Zucky thing, if you still have it. And yeah, as always, keep on bleeding. And you got this. Even if your vagina smells, you got this. Alright, well, keep on bleeding. And we'll see you next time on Tampon Talk with Mary. Say bye, Preston.
Bye.
Bye. That wasn't a good enough goodbye. You should do it again.
Okay. Bye.
That was better.
Okay.
Bye.